The popular Ford F150 sees duties that benefit from the installation of a Wilwood big brake kit. To get started with the installation, break free the lug nuts and lift off the front wheel. Remove the OEM caliper and hang it off to the side using a piece of wire. With the dust cap removed, you will gain access to the carter pin, spindle nut, and retaining washer. You can slide off the OEM hub and rotor assembly in one piece. The well-fastened dust shield comes off next by removing the bolts holding it in place. Slide off the dust shield and gasket. Clean off any old dirt, grease, or debris from the spindle that could interfere with the installation. Your new Wilwood rotor needs to be bolted to the hat. Place the rotor over the hat and place one washer over each hole. Apply red Loctite to the bolts and tighten them down in a crisscross pattern. Start assembling your new Wilwood hub by threading in the wheel stud bolts. Apply red Loctite and torque them down to the supplied specs. Pack the supplied inner and outer hub bearings with a generous amount of disc brake grease. Tap in the large inner bearing grease seal. To install the caliper bracket, install one shim on each bolt and slide them through the spindle mounting holes from the inboard side. This kit uses shims to properly center the caliper on the rotor. Initially install 2 shims. You don't want to use any Loctite at this time, so you can make any adjustments if necessary. Slide the freshly greased outer bearing onto the hub and slide the assembled hub onto the spindle. Install the spindle nut and tighten according to the manufacturer's specs. You may need to tighten and loosen the nut tension a few times to ensure the bearing and hub is properly seated onto the spindle. Install the nut lock, cotter pin, and tap on the dust cap. Slide your hat and rotor assembly onto the wheel studs. The assembly is held in place using 3 tapered Allen bolts. Make sure the bolts sit flush once tightened so they don't interfere with the wheel mounting surface. Start with 2 shims on the caliper mounting studs. These shims adjust the depth the caliper rides in the rotor. You need to install the brake line fitting. Use thread tape on the threads and thread it in the caliper body. Now you can slide your Wilwood caliper onto the mounting studs. Place one washer over the stud and thread on the nut. With everything tightened down, insert the brake pads from the top of the caliper. The rotor should be centered in the caliper body. Also, the edge of the brake pad should align with the edge of the rotor. If you find any adjustments are needed, you can add or subtract the provided shim. Once you've reached proper alignment, you need to disassemble the caliper and bracket and reassemble it using Loctite. Insert the pad retaining clips through the caliper body in the pads. The retaining pins are held in place by inserting an E-clip into the recesses in the hole. You need to install the Wilwood flex line starting at the caliper. The other end attaches to the hard line on the chassis. Thread the flex line through the hole and attach the hardline adapter to the other side. Once they're connected, attach the bracket to the chassis and secure with the provided clip. You're not done. You can follow the brake bleeding instructions included with your kit. Make sure you carefully follow the brake bedding procedure included with your instructions.